Welcome to Mega MLM. This is the most high-level training ever conducted in the network marketing profession. You're about to experience this event just as Randy Gage presented it live in Las Vegas. Now, let's join Randy for Session 9, the 7 skill sets you must teach your team.
I told you on the introductory disc to the program that there's nothing really rocket science here. All we're talking about is skill sets. Skill sets that I believe almost anybody, if they're committed, they can learn. Now, what I would like to share with you on this session is 7 different skill sets. But I'm going to break them down into 2 groups. The first is the 4 basic skill sets. These are the skill sets that we need to train all of our new people with as soon as they get started in the business. We've got to get them proficient in each of those 4 areas. Then we're going to talk about 3 advanced skill sets. These are the skill sets, everybody who's listening to this program, you've got to be students in these 3 areas already and really working on, and you got to become proficient in all 3 of these so you know all 7, because that's what's going to take you to the top levels of leadership in our profession. So the 4 basic ones, those are the ones, and I'm not going to go into great detail on them because those are in basic training. They would be on Duplication Nation and in my book and things like that. I'm not going to waste your time going through all of that stuff. Now, this is just a reminder of, okay, those are the things that you create training modules on those 4 and make sure you're teaching those on a rotating basis in your monthly events and your major events. And then the advanced skills, those are the ones you've got to be working on yourself, and you're going to work as your people show their leadership potential and start to get to some of the mid-level ranks. You're going to begin the training on those and work with them on those through the leadership events and the monthly counseling. So I'm just setting the stage with that. 4 basic skill sets, hopefully you know those already. Meeting people, working a candidate list, inviting is number 3, and number 4 is follow-up. Meeting people, here's the training I think you have to get across to people. If I look at my bonus checks for the last year, I made about $1.5 million for my bonus check. I would guess that at least 50% of it came from volume produced by people that I didn't know when I joined the business again, when I got back in the business with my company. At least 50%, might be 60%. And I bet that's true for every leader, every high level, anybody who makes more than at least $50,000 US a month. I bet they would tell you the same thing, that at least half of their income comes from people that they met after they joined the business. So why do I make that point to you here now? Because we got to get this across to new people. Because, of course, what does every new person say who we introduce to the business? I don't know that many people. They can't help it. It's a mind virus. They've been programmed with it. It's just a knee-jerk reaction. It's part of the limiting beliefs and the lack programming that I talked about earlier. They just automatically say, I don't know that many people. So what they're really saying is, I want to be an amateur. Because, of course, the difference between amateurs and professionals is a professional understands that part of the business, one of the skill sets they've got to develop, is the ability to meet people. So they would never affirm something like, I don't know that many people, or I've talked to all my friends and family, I have nobody left, I'm in the no friends left club, or any of those silly things you hear in our business. They would never affirm anything like that, because they would just go out and say, I'm going to go meet 5 new people today, and maybe one of them will be a sharp person. I know people, they go and they buy gasoline, $10 at a time, and they go to 5 different service stations because they figure they might meet somebody on the other side of the pump when they're putting fuel in their car. They're out there in the store. They switch their hairstyling salon. They switch their spa. They go to different restaurants. They try different car rental places. They swap dry cleaners. They're just out there all the time meeting people. That's a skill set. You can teach that. So definitely have a module on that. The other thing I think you could train on a lot here that is really helpful to people is the concept of shared experience. Because if I look at me, I even very recently, I was still a very shy person off the platform. It always surprises people because I never have a problem. You can put me in front of 10,000 people. I don't even bat an eye. I love those kind of things. What scares me is making chit-chat at a party or let me not affirm that. In the past, what used to scare me was chit-chat at a party or meeting people in an elevator or something, because that was just, I really came into the business pathologically shy. Yet I look, and I've made a couple $1 million from volume produced by guys that I met in my softball league. Quite a bit of money from people that I met at the church I go to. Quite a bit of money I've made from people that I met at a professional association I belong to. Now, the interesting connection in all of those is they were very non-threatening ways to meet people. In fact, I didn't do any of those. I didn't join my church to meet people. I joined my church because I wanted a source of spiritual sustenance. I didn't join softball to meet people. I joined softball because I wanted to play softball. So what happened, though, is, I join a team. There's 9 or 10 new guys I haven't met. But it's not as nerve-wracking for me because it's not like they're standing there looking at me and I'm looking at them and they're evaluating me on what kind of a conversationalist I am. We're there to play ball. So we're talking about ball. We have a shared experience. Whatever James Cameron's next blockbuster movie is, when you're waiting in line with 500 other people, there's probably somebody going to be in front of you, somebody behind you, and one is going to turn around and say, hey, so what did you think of the last one? Or what have you heard about this versus Avatar or versus Terminator or whatever? It's a shared experience. Just like when I was in church, there'd be people sitting on my left and on my right, and you have a conversation about the sermon that the minister did that day or a class they have coming up. It's a non-threatening way to meet people. So if you incorporate that into your training, that'll be really helpful. Candidate list, working a list. Here's the dangers I see that I think you need to train on. Danger number 1 is the people who don't do a list. They go to a presentation. They think of 5 or 6 people they know that'd be great for the business. So they think, I don't need a list. As soon as I get those 5 or 6 people in, I'm going to be rich. You've got to use some tough love and get them to do a list. And then the other thing you're going to see with the amateurs is they're going to do a list and put it in their file folder, and then they're never going to look at it again. The difference between the amateurs and the professionals is the professionals have an organic list. It's this living, breathing thing that changes all the time. Because the truth is, everybody meets 8, 10, 15 new people every week. We all do. But the professionals notice it. Say, wow, that new lady at the dry cleaner, she's really sharp. I'm going to put her name on my candidate list. When the opportunity arises, I think I may approach her about my business opportunity. The amateur just goes and picks up the dry cleaning, pays the bill, and walks away and doesn't even think about it. Those are the people that say, I don't know that many people. You haven't taught them how to work a candidate list. So teach that. Third skill set, inviting. This is probably the most important of the 4 basic skill sets because this is what gets people to come to presentations. And we know we want them at third-party presentations because we're going to have better duplication that way. So that's going to make the importance of the invitation more critical than ever. So don't be afraid to do role plays on this. Have people record their invitations. Do 3-way calls where you can listen to their invitations. Go back and forth. Have them practice it with you. But this is really an important skill set, and it's one of those greatest hits that you need to put into heavy rotation. Meaning you work that into your, as you plan the agenda for your training events through the course of the year, make sure inviting is one of those things you go back to the well over and over. Keep looking at it in a new way, in a fresh way, but always going back to that. And then follow up, very simple one. It's not hard to learn, but you gotta set it up as a team leader. You gotta show people this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, this is step 4. And then you need to have the info pack or the marketing materials that would accompany each of those steps. And if you delineate that out, it's pretty logical, pretty rational. Almost everybody's going to be able to follow that if they have any kind of gumption at all. So those are the things, those are the basic skill sets, and your job with a new team member is to get them proficient in all 4 of those as quickly as possible. Everybody's going to come into the business better at one than the other. I'm good at inviting people I know and like and trust. I can create really good, compelling invitations. My weak spot was, of course, meeting people. Working a candidate list, I didn't have any problem with that because I'm a rational, logical, analytical guy. I love doing to-do lists and crossing things off when I get them done. So the candidate list wasn't a problem for me. Other people, that's a problem. Follow up, some people are great with it. Some people are not great with it. Celebrate everybody's strengths, work on their weaknesses, and they don't have to be great in all of these, but they need to be at least proficient in all of these. So those are the 4 basic skill sets. Now, let's look at the 3 advanced skill sets. Number 1 is people skills. You know, my friend Billy, one of my double diamonds, he always likes to say, network marketing would be perfect if it wasn't for the people. And we always laugh about that because that's all the issues we deal with in this business. They're always people issues because that's the nature of the animal. So this is why the self-development program is so important. And I think the way to do this is, our job is not to all become psychologists and psychiatrists, even though it certainly seems that way sometimes in our business, doesn't it? Our job is, again, just like we do in presentations, is to use third-party resources.